Did you know that over 70% of food poisoning cases in older adults are directly linked to foods that were labeled as healthy leftovers? That's right, foods we've always trusted, even praised for being nutritious, can actually turn into ticking time bombs inside your fridge if you're over the age of 60. And the worst part, many of these foods are ones we intentionally save because we think they're good for us. But here's the scary truth. After a certain age, your immune system, digestion, and even your liver's detoxability start slowing down, which makes you far more vulnerable to the hidden dangers that lurk in so-called safe leftovers. What if I told you that one of the most popular leftovers, one that nearly every senior has in their fridge right now, can cause serious digestive inflammation, spike your blood pressure, and even raise your risk for certain cancers? And yet, it's still marketed as heart-healthy food. We're going to reveal that as our number one most dangerous leftover. And believe me, you will never look at your fridge the same way again after this. Before we dive into the list, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, and share this video with anyone over 60 you care about. Your click might just save a life, or at least a few miserable days of food poisoning. Let's get into it. Number 5. Reheated brown rice, the poster child of clean eating. Full of fiber, complex carbs, low on the glycemic index, this one checks all the health boxes, right? But here's the problem. Brown rice is also a silent carrier of a heat-resistant bacteria called Bacillus cereus. This bacteria thrives in warm, moist environments, especially in cooked rice left at room temperature. The spores it produces can survive cooking temperatures, which means once the rice cools and sits, even inside a fridge, it can start growing dangerous toxins that your body isn't built to handle as efficiently after 60. Here's where it gets worse. You might reheat that leftover brown rice thinking it's fine. But the heat doesn't always kill the toxins. In fact, studies show these toxins can resist boiling temperatures. Once ingested, they can cause a sudden onset of nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea in less than 6 hours. And for someone younger, this might pass in a day. But in older adults, dehydration and electrolyte imbalance caused by this reaction can land you in the ER. What's even trickier is that the rice still smells and looks completely normal. There's no sour odor or funky texture to tip you off. You could be eating poison without even knowing it. This isn't just theory either. One documented case involved a 72-year-old man who developed foodborne illness after eating refrigerated brown rice that had been cooked and cooled less than 48 hours earlier. His blood pressure dropped dramatically from the dehydration, and he was hospitalized for 2 nights. So yes, brown rice is healthy when it's fresh, but as a leftover, especially after a day or two, it becomes a microbial landmine. If you're over 60, just don't risk it. Number 4. Spinach or leafy greens stored after cooking. Now this one might surprise you. Spinach is loaded with folate, iron, and antioxidants. It's practically the gold standard for nutrient density. But when it's been cooked and then stored, especially in a plastic container, it becomes something else entirely, something potentially toxic. Why? Because spinach is naturally high in nitrates, and when you cook it and leave it to cool slowly, those nitrates can be converted by bacteria into nitrites and even into harmful compounds called nitrosamines. Now let me pause here and break that down. Nitrates are naturally occurring compounds in vegetables, and they're not harmful in their raw form. But when exposed to certain conditions, like heat, time, and bacterial activity, they transform into nitrites, which can affect oxygen transport in the blood, and nitrosamines, which have been linked to certain cancers, including gastric and colorectal cancers. So, what happens when a 65-year-old eats leftover spinach lasagna or reheated sauteed greens? You're not just getting wilted veggies. You're increasing your exposure to substances that your aging liver may not detoxify efficiently anymore. And the risk is higher when those leftovers are reheated in a microwave, especially inside plastic containers, because the heat can accelerate chemical changes and even cause the plastic to leach hormone-disrupting compounds into the food. You may think you're doing the right thing, batch cooking your greens for the week, but if they've sat in the fridge for a day or two, and especially if they weren't cooled quickly after cooking, you're playing with chemistry your body wasn't designed to handle at this age. If you want the nutrients from spinach, eat it fresh or frozen, not as leftovers. and never microwave it in plastic. Ever. Number 3. Leftover baked potatoes. Yes, baked potatoes are cheap, comforting, and full of potassium and fiber. But once they've been cooked and left to cool, especially if wrapped in foil, they can create the perfect environment for a deadly bacteria known as Clostridium botulinum. That's right, botulism. A condition so severe it can cause paralysis, difficulty breathing, and even death. This bacteria thrives in low oxygen environments, and guess what aluminum foil does? It seals off oxygen almost entirely. So that foil-wrapped baked potato you left on the counter after dinner, it could become a breeding ground for spores that are nearly impossible to detect, and reheating doesn't always destroy them. What's terrifying is how subtle the symptoms can be at first. Mild dizziness, a dry mouth, blurred vision. You might just think you're tired or dehydrated. But once the toxin spreads, it can affect your ability to move your muscles, swallow, or even breathe. Seniors are especially vulnerable because their nervous systems and immune responses are slower, giving the toxin more time to take hold. There's also the issue of how people usually store potatoes. Many think they're safe to leave out overnight, especially if they don't have meat or dairy in them. But the absence of protein doesn't stop botulism. It's the anaerobic, oxygen-free condition that matters. The CDC has actually issued warnings about this exact scenario. Foil-wrapped potatoes being the cause of botulism outbreaks in restaurants and homes alike. If you're over 60, don't risk trying to save that half a potato. Eat it fresh or toss it out. Your nervous system will thank you. If you've made it this far and you're learning something new, take a second to hit that like button and subscribe. We're here to bring you science-backed health tips designed specifically for people over 60, because your body plays by different rules, and you deserve advice that respects that. Now, let's continue. Number 2. Leftover chicken breast. This one is heartbreaking, especially for anyone who's spent years being told that chicken breast is the leanest, cleanest protein choice. And it is, when fresh. But when you're over 60, leftover chicken breast can quickly go from muscle building to immune wrecking, especially if it's reheated improperly or stored for more than 2 days. Here's what the food industry doesn't talk about. Cooked chicken is especially prone to developing Campylobacter and Salmonella bacteria when stored in the fridge. While most people assume cooking kills all pathogens, what they forget is that contamination can still occur after cooking, during slicing, packaging, or even while reheating in an uneven microwave. But why is this more dangerous for seniors? Because our stomachs produce less stomach acid as we age, which makes it easier for these bacteria to survive digestion and wreak havoc in the gut. Even a small dose of Campylobacter jejuni, which often survives in the crevices of cooled chicken, can cause severe diarrhea, fever, and cramps. And in people over 60, it can also trigger dangerous secondary complications like Guillain-Barré syndrome, a nerve disorder that can lead to paralysis. The real trap lies in how harmless leftover chicken looks and tastes. The texture is the same. The smell is mild, but one bite of that microwave chicken, especially if it was unevenly heated or left in the fridge for 3 days, can lead to hours, even days, of vomiting, fatigue, and gut inflammation. And here's something few people know. The protein structure of chicken changes after reheating. Studies show that when chicken breast is reheated repeatedly, it becomes more difficult for aging digestive systems to break down, leading to indigestion and bloating. Think about this scenario. You cooked a healthy chicken stir-fry on Sunday night. You stored the leftovers in the fridge and decided to eat them on Wednesday. You nuked the meal for 90 seconds in a microwave. The outer edges are steaming, but the inside, still cold. That's all it takes for pathogens to survive, and for your gut to pay the price. When you're 30, your immune system might deal with it silently. But at 60 or 70, it's like opening a door to bacterial roulette. So while chicken breast is a great protein when it's fresh, eating it as a leftover, especially if it's been stored longer than 2 days or reheated unevenly, is a risk you don't want to take. The older you are, the harder it is to bounce back from that kind of food poisoning. The health benefits simply aren't worth the potential damage. Number 1. Leftover cold-pressed vegetable juice. Here it is. The one leftover that even the health gurus forget to warn you about. Cold-pressed juices made from vegetables like beetroot, celery, and carrots are often seen as the ultimate wellness drink. Rich in vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, sure. But once these juices sit for longer than 24 hours, even in the fridge, they can turn into something potentially toxic. And the effects are especially risky for people over 60. Let's break down the science. Just like spinach, root vegetables like beets and carrots are naturally high in nitrates. When these vegetables are juiced, they lose the natural plant fibers that help slow digestion and prevent bacterial overgrowth. What's left is a high nitrate liquid, extremely vulnerable to bacterial conversion into nitrites and then nitrosamines, both of which have been strongly linked to cancer, especially in aging digestive systems. Now, here's the kicker. Cold-pressed juices are not pasteurized. That means they haven't been heat-treated to kill bacteria. So the moment they're exposed to air, say, during juicing, they begin a race against time. Bacterial contamination can begin within a few hours, especially if the juice is stored in plastic, exposed to light, or not chilled consistently. In one study published in the Journal of Food Microbiology, cold-pressed juices showed signs of bacterial growth as early as 12 hours after bottling, even under refrigeration. For people under 40, a few stray bacteria might not do much. But when you're over 60, your stomach acid is weaker, your immune system is slower, and your body is less efficient at detoxifying harmful byproducts like nitrites. Drinking an old cold-pressed juice might not just cause stomach discomfort, it could increase your risk of infections, kidney stress, and oxidative damage. And that's not even getting into the issue of botulinum bacteria, which can rarely, but fatally, develop in improperly stored juice due to its low acid and oxygen levels. Think about it. You're trying to be healthy. You made a big batch of beet and carrot juice on Monday. It's Friday. You take a sip, thinking you're giving your body a vitamin boost. But instead, you're dumping bacterial toxins, oxidized nitrates, and destabilized plant compounds into a system that can't fight back the way it used to. That's not just ineffective, it's dangerous. And here's something many seniors don't realize. Some of the symptoms of nitrate poisoning are incredibly easy to miss. A slight headache, mild dizziness, shortness of breath. You might write them off as aging or fatigue, but in reality, your body might be struggling to oxygenate your blood because of the way those nitrates were processed by bacteria. It's silent, subtle, and seriously harmful over time. So if you love cold-pressed juice, drink it fresh, within 12 hours max. Never let it sit for days, and never store it in plastic under light. And above all, never assume that just because it tastes good, it's still safe. This one tops the list not just because of its risks, but because of how deeply it's misunderstood. It's promoted as a health miracle, but for people over 60, it could quietly be doing far more harm than good. So, what can you do now? First, go check your fridge. Seriously. Pause this video, open that door, and take a good look at anything you cooked more than 48 hours ago. If it falls into one of the 5 categories we've talked about today, ask yourself if it's worth the risk. If there's even a second of hesitation, toss it. Your health is worth more than a $2 container of old food. Then come back here and make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to this channel, and most importantly, share this video with a parent, a neighbor, a friend from church, your gym buddy. Anyone over 60 who still thinks leftovers are the safest thing in their fridge. Because they deserve to know the truth, and so do you. Now we want to hear from you. Which of these 5 leftovers shocked you the most, or have you ever had a bad experience with leftovers that you didn't expect? Share with us your experiences and opinions in the comments below. We'd love to hear them. Thanks for watching.